Where are we going? Back to the time machine. We have to go outside time and space, and that's the only place and time where we can. We're going into the rip in time and space? If that's where Gaster is, then it's the only possible way to reach him. And what if we get lost outside of time and space too? Godlike powers, remember? As long as I can load my save file, we can escape back to the present. That's assuming that you can load from outside the timeline. We're not going to get a second chance at this, guys. We can't save here. We can't reset. If we miss this window, we fail our mission, and this was all for nothing. Fine, now or never. Let's go!
Mayday! Mayday!
You crazy canine. You're supposed to flee the other way.
We can't control it. It's overloading.
I don't understand. This wasn't supposed to happen. Why am I here like this? Up. Get out of here. I don't want you to get hurt. Wait. No.
Time to wake up and smell the pain. Though, it's still a little shaky.
Where are we? So this is outside time and space? Frisk, please tell me you can still load your save file. Okay, I can still reach my save, but... But what? There's something off here. It feels like the time and space on my save file are all out of place. I don't know if it's where we are or something else. Are we stuck? No, I can still load. I'm not sure what'll happen when I do. Okay, that just means this really is our one shot. When we leave here, we're gone for good. So we find a way to bring Gaster back into the timeline now, or he's really lost forever. So where is he? Hey, wait! Gaster, don't you vanish on us.
For here.
We'll track you down if it's the... Huh? What? Ah! Whoa. Ah! Oof. What happened? Where are we now?
Cheaters, snakes, hackers, all along. Now, you're where you belong.
Sam stopped by Toriel's house again, as he had been doing almost hourly now. He just had to keep checking that everyone was still safe. He knew Papyrus at least was at his work for a few more hours. The others, however, well, that's what he was here for. Sans was already nervous when he knocked on the door and didn't receive an answer. Still, that didn't stop him from walking in anyway, as he sometimes did. He stepped into the house, and was greeted with another eerie quiet at least until Five spotted him from the hall and came running up, an empty dog food bowl in hand. She looked even more anxious and sweaty than normal. Sans. I'm glad you were here. I need to talk to someone. Sans was immediately on edge. What's happening? I was just over here to feed Anogamy, to try and get them calmer, but there's something's going on with Toriel and I don't know what. Sans closed the door behind him and leaned in a little closer. He suddenly hoped that no one else was listening in on Ulfi's. Something going on? Ulfi's gripped the empty dog food bowl closer to her. Frisk I guess said something to Toriel, it made her really upset, and Asgore got it out from her and I don't know, he was a mess and just left. They were about something and he just ran up and left Flay and all his equipment outside, and now Toriel hasn't left her room and I think she's crying and I just don't know what to do. Truth be told, Sans didn't know what to do about that either. He stayed silent, trying to figure out what Frisk could have done, but Ulfi's continued on. Sans, I think you might be alright. About Frisk. They've just been acting strange. And I hate saying it, but they promised me that they wouldn't hurt Endogeny. I don't think that Frisk will even come back without Endogeny, so Ulfi's voice dropped into a hushed, frightened tone. What if you're right and it's not really Frisk? Sans just about collapsed into an exhausted pile of bones at having someone in the house finally believe him. That's what I've been saying. It's not them. Ulfi's eyes darted about, and her claws started putting scratches into the dog food bowl. But if it's not Frisk, who is it? To this, Sans had no answers. His own knowledge was already severely limited to just what he felt could happen rather than what did happen. At least, what happened in the timeline that they were in now. And considering his previous encounters, he didn't think he'd ever get a solid answer out of the Frisk imposter. But there was at least one thing he knew about. I don't know. All I know is that when they show up everything goes wrong. Sans suddenly felt very heavy, and he looked towards the floor. Everything goes wrong for everyone, and I become powerless to stop it. Ulfi's looked too desperate to be entertaining Sans' refusal to act right now. There's got to be something we can do. Like what? I don't think Toriel's in a state to hear this from me again right now. Sans, both Ulfi's and Sans nearly jumped out of their skin and bones respectively at a new voice. The two turned, and saw Toriel approaching them from the stairwell. She looked bedraggled and exhausted, her fur unkempt and her eyes tired. She seemed to be looking through the two of them, and for a moment Sans wondered if she actually was aware they were there or not. He and Ulfi's exchanged a panicked look, and neither of them responded for a moment. But Toriel didn't need to wait for a reply from them. It is about Frisk, is it not? It's not really them. It seems more like Toriel trailed off, her breath catching in her throat. She suddenly seemed unsteady on her feet, and she put a paw against the nearby wall to try and keep herself upright. It didn't seem to last long before she slid back down to the floor, her head in her paws. I do not understand. Why is this happening? Why, every time do they keep slipping through my fingers? Toriel choked back a sob. I thought we were safe, that we were free. I just want Frisk back. I just want my child back. I do not want to do this again. Sans and Ulfi stared at each other with equal looks of terror. Both were used to Toriel being in charge of reassuring them all when things went wrong. And now Sans knew they were both wondering how were they supposed to reassure the former queen when she was practically having a breakdown. Ulfi was the first to speak up, although quietly so, as she tried to build on the encouragement that Undyne had given her. Toriel, it's not your fault. That just seemed to make Toriel sob even harder. Ulfi made a few panicked motions between herself and Toriel, eyes locked on Sans. Sans was starting to feel pretty anxious himself, but tried to think of some way they could handle this. He minded using a phone with one hand to Ulfi's. Get Undyne and Pets over here. He told her under his breath. Whatever they could do to try and help Toriel, he had a feeling that they would need the boundless optimism of those two more than ever. As for himself, Sans swallowed and moved over to try and help Toriel up. It took her a little while, but she finally accepted his hand and he was able to get her back on her feet while he still supported much of her weight by himself. We're gonna get this worked out. Just you gotta hang in there while we figure out what to do, okay? Toriel didn't respond, but just nodded as Sans led her into the living room. There was only one thing he could think of to do in a crisis of this sort, and that was to tell jokes. So I got some new knock-knock jokes off the internet. Wanna hear 'em? Toriel nodded again, and gave a quiet and strained yes. Meanwhile, Ulfi made her way to the kitchen and pulled out her cell phone. She barely managed to dial the right number, her claws were shaking so much. Finally, however, she got the number down and heard the line pick up. Papyrus, it's Ulfi. I know you're at work, but we really need your help here at Tutorials.